Hi everyone, it's John. In my continuing effort to keep up with the books that I buy, have no need for, but continue to buy nevertheless, I think I have 6, 10, 12, or 13 books to show you. You'll see a common theme through them, but there are certainly some books that don't fit with the theme. But the past few months I've been wanting to do kind of a bit of a reading project to indulge in one of my interests, which I mentioned in the history reading challenge tag that I posted about a week and a half ago or so. Let me just get started, and you'll eventually see the leitmotif that's going on here. The first book is Renaissance Thought and the Arts by Paul Oscar Christeller. This is a short little book of mostly essays, yes, all essays. Marsilio Ficino and Pomponazzi in the Place of Man in the Universe, Paduan Avorism and the Alexandrism in the Light of Recent Studies, essays on rhetoric, music, the origin and development of Italian prose. By the way, for those of you who may not know, John Paul Christeller was known as one of the scholars who brought back Renaissance studies, or who brought Renaissance studies to the United States back in the 20s and 30s. Medievalism and medieval scholarship was brought into the United States mostly in the middle to late 19th century. The Renaissance followed shortly after, just like the Renaissance itself shortly followed the medieval time period. So, this, and then another book by the same person. This is perhaps, if you read widely in the Renaissance, this is Christeller's perhaps most famous book. It's called Renaissance Thought and Its Sources. So it takes up a variety of humanist texts and looks at their classical origins in classical Greece and Rome. Of course, the Renaissance was all about reviving. The very word Renaissance means a rebirth, right? It's all about reviving Greco-Roman texts and critical thinking, scholarship, philology, and careful study of all of the above. So this is just a few of the things that he does in Renaissance Thought and Its Sources. So I realized that those were basically the big two books that I had readily available, not packed away somewhere. And I got online on books and Amazon, kind of wanting to fill out my Renaissance and medieval intellectual history library without having to empty out my shed first and get bitten by spiders. So I went looking for something that was reasonably well priced online. The interesting thing about a lot of these books on medieval and Renaissance history, especially the new ones, is they're sometimes inordinately expensive. I'm talking $60, $80 to $100 a piece, and I don't even mean for new books. I just mean, books that are in very good condition. Even books that have been out for years, 10, 20 years, can be very, very expensive. I don't understand why that is. Maybe I'm just reading scholarly books that are hard to find, but some of these obviously are not especially scholarly. This one, to begin with. Again, I'm not paying $80, so none of the ones you will be seeing cost that. This is The Evolution of Medieval Thought by David Knowles. Just I really, really, really despise mass market paperbacks, but this is what this is, and it looks. I mean, the spine is broken. Um, I think it'll survive one reading. I'm pretty gentle with my books, but I would love a hardback version of this someday if I end up enjoying it enough. The next writer I have for you, I have two books by, and he wrote a 2-volume series. Medieval philosophy spans a wide range. So it's everything from, it kind of depends on where you want to start. If you want to think of Boethius as the first major Renaissance philosopher, or Augustine, wherever you decide to start, you usually end right before Descartes. So that's about a 1,000 year time frame, right? So the first book I have is, these are by John Marenbaum, the well-known scholar of medieval philosophy. This is early medieval philosophy, 480 to 1150. Great condition. Paid a bit more than I would have wanted to for it, but that's all right. And then this is the complementary volume that covers the not exactly second half, but you can tell there it's later in medieval philosophy, 1150 to 1350. So those will be, didn't have either one of those. Now I have both. This is another book that popped up on Abe Books that appeared to be in very good condition, and is, in fact, in very good condition, thankfully. It is by someone I'd never heard of, but appeared to have on Google Books a very interesting table of contents, and the price was right, so I pounced on it. It's a hardcover that does not have, but you can, it's The Mind of the Middle Ages by Frederick B. Arts. Can't tell you too much about it, except that it's subtitled AD 200 to 1500, A Historical Survey, published in 1953. Has chapter titles of The Classical Backgrounds of Medieval Christianity, The Jewish and Early Christian Sources of Medieval Faith, The Patristic Age, Byzantine Civilization, Islamic Civilization, the Latin West. He covers early universities, just really sort of a basic, wonderful book that has a lot of potential. So I got that. This book I actually bought new because it is by one of my favorite writers on the topic of all time. Paid more than I ideally would have for the book, but that's all right because I know that I will never ever get rid of it. The book is called History of Christian Philosophy in the Middle Ages by Essien Gilson, and it is a big thick thing. It's not quite as intimidating as it looks, actually, because it's 850 pages, but the last 300 of those are notes, an index, extended reading, etc. But this takes you from, I mean, it might even actually start you in it starts with the Greek apologists. we're talking like first century. So this goes actually well before the Middle Ages. By apologists, I mean Greek Christian apologists. Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, Hippolytus, people like that. This is going to be an absolutely fascinating read, and I look forward to it very, very, very much. I have some other books by Gilson on the way, which you'll be seeing in the upcoming weeks and months, I hope. Next is a book by a writer who I think is from the Annales school, a French, middle 20th century French school of historiography, which looked at how sort of ordinary people lived their lives. This is Centuries of Childhood by Philippe Paris, a social history of family life. He also wrote a book which is over there by where I read called 500 Years of Death or something like that, which is a social history of death, funerary practice, mourning, everything that you could possibly associate with the end of life. Next, I bought this. It is by Brian Copenhaver and Charles B. Schmidt. This is Renaissance Philosophy, which is volume 3 in Oxford's History of Western Philosophy. Try as I might, I have not been able to find any other volume of Oxford's History of Western Philosophy other than this one, volume 3. And this is going for a pretty penny as well. I bought this on, I want to say on Amazon, thinking that it was the new version, which has a much more non-70s looking cover which actually has I think it has a sort of a Renaissance painting on it or something instead of these bland And I got it, and lo and behold, this is what I got. But again, if I like it, I'll end up getting a really good copy. I tend to be, like I said, pretty easy on my books, so I don't plan on tearing it up too soon. Next, this is more Hamilton books. These are just books either that looked fascinating or the author, I recognized the author's name and just had to go for it. These get us off of the theme of medieval and Renaissance thought for just a few books. This is E.P. Thompson's Customs in Common, Studies in Traditional Popular Culture. And this is supposed to be a companion to his more popular work, which he wrote called The Making of the English Working Class, which I have not read, but am very interested in finding. So I recognized E.P. Thompson's name and put that in my basket. For the last few years, ever since she was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature, she was never on my radar before that. But since then, I've heard a number of people whose opinions I inherently trust say really, really good things about her, and that is Svetlana Alexievich, and this is Secondhand Time, The Last of the Soviets. Hamilton Books had 4 or 5 of her books on sale, but I just wanted to sort of dip my toes into the pool and see how I liked her writing. If I like this, I'll definitely go back and pick up a few more things. our last reprieve from medieval and Renaissance thought. Just 2 more books to go. This is a book I didn't recognize the writer either, but the topic is fascinating to me. This is The Social Life of Books. The subtitle's so small I can't read it. Reading Together in the 18th Century Home by Abigail Williams. And this is published by Yale University. Abigail Williams is a Lord White Fellow and Professor of 18th Century Studies at St. Peter's College, Oxford. But social histories of reading, fascinating stuff. One last book to show you. Usually, this publisher, their name is Hackett. What they'll do is they publish really important historical texts in philosophy, religion, history of thought, etc. They're usually somewhat expensive, but I found this one for a few dollars. It has a little bit of handwriting and underlining in it, like so, but whatever. This is a book by St. Augustine. It's one of his treatises. This is St. Augustine's On Free Choice of the Will, which I think when I get to Augustine in my medieval reading will be a nice little supplement to read along with what they're saying about him, along with maybe a revisit to the Confessions too. So that's all I have for you today. 12 or 13 books in 17 minutes. That's not too bad. I will see you again soon. Bye.